Massive night of boxing last night, fellas. Jake Ellis and Michael Zerafa joined Australian Boxing Central. Thanks for joining us today, boys. As I just said, a huge result last night. Tim Tszyu knocking off Jeff Horn, and as he would say now, the number one fighter in Australia. But obviously, you've got something to say about that, Mick?
100%. Look, I give credit to Tim Tszyu. He went out there and did the unthinkable and beat Jeff Horn. But I've done it as well. He had a full fight plan that I was in, and I keep reiterating that because he called me out a few times, and he's called himself the best. I believe I'm the best. And again, credit to him. But there's only one way to settle it, and the better man will win on the night that he picks up and takes the fight. So we'll see what happens.
I was actually watching the fight with you last night, Jake, and we did. Notice something about Jeff maybe looking a little bit out of sorts, not to discredit Tim Tszyu for his win, but I do know that you sort of made that observation and felt as though he just didn't look like the old Jeff Horn that we've seen in the past.
Yeah, well, there's a few telling signs, mate. Like, first of all, when he rocked up to the weigh-in late, that obviously a dead tell that he's struggling with the weight. As soon as he got on the mic, he started talking. He didn't sound right to me. Like, he sounded a bit, I'm not going to make assumptions, but we all heard it and we all saw it. And then coming into the first round, he didn't even really have one gear. With Jeff Horn, that style, you need to have that. You need to have your resistance in place. You need to have that high energy to implement those waves of pressure. And it just seems as if he lost a pep in his step. He didn't really look threatening for 1 minute of one round. So it just goes to show that the wars with Mick and the wars with guys like Crawford, it's obviously catching up with him.
And I guess Tim's performance, boys, I mean, obviously he's stepped it up a level. He's fought Jeff Horn and now proven himself to be able to handle that quality opposition. Were you guys surprised by Tim's performance last night?
Yeah, look, he handled himself well. Like I said, credit's due. He got the W. I just believe that I can beat him. And that's why I just want the opportunity. I've done the same thing. I went out and knocked him out as well. Doesn't make me a better fighter, doesn't make me a worse fighter. And like I said, he's called himself the best, I'm calling myself the best. I said I'm going to come back down to 69 kilos, and there's only one way to settle it. And once he's man enough to step up and take that opportunity, and take the fight, we're ready, we're always ready, and we want that opportunity.
I know you sort of want to hold Tim accountable to that 4-fight plan that he spoke about a while ago. Before he fought Joel Camilleri for the Australian title, he did speak of obviously Joel, Dwight Ritchie, yourself, and Jeff Horn. He's ticked off 3 of those names. What are your thoughts on that, Mick?
That's what I mean. When Joel Camilleri, Dwight Ritchie, me, Horn, and they said he's gone Joel Camilleri, Dwight Ritchie, Brubaker, and then he's sitting there calling himself the best. Beat me and I'll shut up. Stop calling yourself the best. I've done what you've done. You haven't done what I've done. I've been all around the world. You haven't. I've fought world-class fighters. He hasn't. He hasn't fought guys like Kell Brooks and Peter Quillen and the Russian I fought. And I knocked out Jeff Horn too. So stop calling yourself the best and man up and fight me. So it's a fight game. You can't call yourself the best and duck fighters. It just doesn't make sense.
And for you, Jake, obviously, fighters that you're very familiar with, Dwight Ritchie, Joel Camilleri, everyone knows Jeff Horn. Knowing what, is on the horizon potentially for Mick, how do you sort of see a fight with Tim Tszyu, and do you think Mick's a very good chance in that fight?
Well, mate, we wouldn't be calling him out if we didn't think so. We definitely know one thing for sure, which we've got the bigger man, the more experienced man. That's just a fact. And again, Tim looked $1 million last night. No, full credit to him. But Jeff Horn, he's never been the most technically brilliant guy. He's always used his strength, his punching power. Again, his energy, his awkward sort of stepping style, which requires again energy. So as soon as he's fallen off the hill, he was going to make whoever got that last fight with him look $1 million. And again, I think that there was some refereeing in that fight that really played into sort of Tim's style of fighting, which would mean that it was broken very, very quickly. Jeff Horn likes to put his head on the chest and work inside, but if you're getting broken so quick, then it's going to stop you from doing that. Whereas in Mick's fight, you could see that reffing. It was very, very different, to say the absolute least.
Crazy, absolutely crazy.
What did you guys make of Jeff's corner? Obviously, we saw big controversy after that. He probably looked like he was done after 4 or 5 rounds, but managed to see out the 8th, and Glenn Rush and his team have copped a lot of criticism. What are your thoughts, boys, on sort of how
look,
that was?
You always have faith in your fighter, and you always try to motivate him as much as possible. When the fighter comes back to the corner and says, he's done, he wants to stop the fight. The fact that Russian was still trying to push him to get back out there and throw one more punch, it's crazy. The fighter's done, he's done, he's hurt. And it's pretty disappointing to see that Russian did it again. He did it with me. He's done it with if Jeff keeps staying with him, he can get Jeff to proceed in his career. So I know it's disappointing to watch. Yeah.
Do you think Jeff has a fight left in him, whether it be against yourself or someone else out there? What do you think, boys?
I mean, you can't take a loss at the end of a career. I mean, I think Jeff definitely needs some time just with his family and just to regroup with his loved ones and just enjoy a bit of downtime. But I mean, a loss can't as a retirement fight. You know what I mean? So, look, I hope he does come back. We still have unfinished business, but I want the man. I don't want to fight the easy fights. I wanted the winner. I don't want to fight the loser. I want to fight the winner. And Tim Tszyu, congratulations. Again, you got one more fight. You fight me and you beat me. You clear that you're back out. Don't say you're the best fighter in Australia before me.
And I guess your take, Jake, on the situation in the corner and I guess how he was looking. I mean, you're a astute sort of boxing person who does look at the fighter and how they're responding in the corner. I know, throughout the fight you were thinking Jeff was done well before the fight.
Yeah, well, I've got a lot of respect for Glenn. I don't want to talk too bad about him. And the bottom line is, mate, he knows his fighter better than anyone. He's been right a few times with the ninth round against Pacquiao, the ninth round against Mick. That was very close. I personally would have thrown the towel in on that ninth round. He didn't. He got proven right in hindsight. So, I guess it's one of them times where, you're going to get slayed when you're wrong and you're going to look like a hero when you're right. But in this particular instance, we all heard Jeff say he's had enough. And in my experience, coming from 3 generations of boxing men, if a fighter doesn't respond when you ask he's okay, you stop it. Never mind when the fighter's saying clearly, I've had enough.
Yep.
But in saying that, I'll leave my opinion reserved.
One opinion that you will have is obviously on the state of Australian boxing right now with coronavirus being a huge problem. What is your take on the promotional landscape and how we can get another fight for Tim Tszyu, another fight for Michael Zerafa? Are there, do you think international's the way to go? Do you think
there's obviously opportunity in Queensland. They done it last night. So, I'd love that where you'd have a guy from Victoria and Mick, a guy from Sydney, having a nice neutral state. I know there's interest in having it down here in Bendigo too. Obviously Bendigo, the mayor of Bendigo loves him. They want him to fight Mundine there after the Jeff Horn fight. So there's talk there, so we could do it down there. Again, there are restrictions everywhere. International opportunities are almost completely gone. For us, we'd love it in a neutral, state. Preferably, we'd love it in our home state. Like anything, our hometown advantage is always what you'd want for any soccer club, football club, or fighter. However, we're willing to fight him on the move. So wherever it happens, and I know Mick has been jumping out of his skin to get the winner. Obviously, he had unfinished business with Horn. Horn is now looking like he's going to retire. Again, he's 32 years old, but with the style he has, it's not like Mundine. Mundine's a boxer. You reserve your brain cells, you reserve your goodness. Whereas someone like Horn that takes one to give 3, that style is always going to be a lot more short-lived than a boxing style. So looking at him, he's looking like he's coming relatively to the end of it. Mundine in the same boat. However, if we don't get Tim Tszyu, who does the kid fight? Does he sit around like he has all year and not fight anyone? So it's just really, really frustrating if we can't get that that Tszyu fight across the line, because everywhere else he goes, online, everywhere else he gives him stick because he's fighting washed up people. Oh, well, who does he fight? Or he fights some prospect that no one knows. He's stuck between a bit of a rock and a hard place. So the only fight to me that makes sense is Tszyu Zerafa.
Well, what excites you most about that matchup? Obviously, having overseen Mick's career, he had his professional debut on a Team Ellis show. What is it that about Zerafa and Tszyu that is going to captivate the Australian boxing public's imagination, and what gets you excited about it?
Well, first of all, they're number 1 and 2. Well, they're probably equal first. So that's the main headliner. And to me, mate, it was just a natural progression of things. Jeff Horn held the crown. He was leading boxing. It was Mundine before him. Then it was Jeff Horn. And now it's, we've got 2 boys that have both beaten him. So let's fight for first. That's why it makes sense to me. It's just black and white,
And for you, Mick, any final words to Tim Tszyu? Do you have a message to him in regards to, settling, the debate about who Australia's best fighter is?
Let's get it on. Let's make it happen. Let's give Australian boxing fans what they want to see. Zerafa v Tszyu in a blockbuster.